Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And today, we're getting on with what we started yesterday. And I think in this case, now understand this is very much a live recording, meaning what you see is what you get. I do not edit anything out after the fact. The way I figure it, if I'm going to make a mistake, first rule of thumb, trying to cover it up doesn't work well. There's an old philosophy that I've lived by for years, and that is, if you're going to do something, if you're having a question whether you should do something or not, doesn't matter what path in life you're on. If it is something you can stand up and say and proudly tell people, the appropriate people, and I'll explain that in a second. If you can stand up and say, I did this, then absolutely go forth and do it. If you're going to have to hide it, okay, from the law, from your parents, from whoever you are putting on a pedestal and saying they are the person I'm using as a mentor, they're the person I'm looking to. If you have to hide it from them, or worse, if you're trying to hide it from yourself, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Okay, and we will get into that in a little while. But this said, before I really get started here, Um, absolutely. I hope I get a thumbs up out of you. Absolutely. Please subscribe to get the rest of the videos that are available. There is a lot of them. Okay, and if everything goes well, which I intend on making sure happens, then I will be doing this on a regular basis. It is currently 4 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm up, but this is actually, I've been up for 2 hours now already, which gives you an idea how my day goes. Okay, I thought I was doing well when I packed it in at 10:30 last night, but I digress. I got thinking, nobody can go back. You just can't. And we'll get into the discussion of time travel later. But you cannot undo that which you've done. You cannot unthink that which you've thought. You cannot unsee that which you've seen. You cannot unknow that which you know. Okay, and therefore, since you cannot go back, your only option is to take a look at where you are right this moment and move forward. Now, the reality of it is, my memories date back a whole lot further. No, I cannot prove my memories any more than anybody else can prove theirs. But there is such thing as circumstantial evidence and corroborating stories. Okay, in my case, my memories go back a lot further than most, and that's okay. That doesn't make me better or worse than anybody. Wherever you are in life, whatever you're up to, okay, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Now, I decided I was going to see what I could do about making things happen in an appropriate fashion. Hopefully, I don't get sidetracked, but hey, normally with my life, that's the way it works. Now, the reality of life is this: everybody looks to somebody for guidance. Okay, doesn't matter who you are. I've walked down some pretty shadowed roads. Now, thankfully, the one road I never walked down, and I can only imagine what that can be like, is this lifetime I have never walked down the road of getting in trouble with the police. Heck, I've never even managed to get a speeding ticket. Which is, I'm not bragging about it, I'm just saying that's the reality. This does not mean I did not speed. It just means that I didn't get caught for it. Okay, which sometimes can be worse, by the way. But with that in mind, and a whole lot of luck in other circumstances, which I'm not going that direction, I'm not going to go into that right now. What does matter is where you are at this point. Now, I forgot to grab something, so I'll have to hope I remember to do that tomorrow. Um, I do have a wood sign that I made myself that I do want to make sure and that's where I keep making the mistake. I do desire to make sure that I've got it available. So I think the best method for me at this point is, as soon as I'm done this video, get the wood sign that I personally built and sits in my office. Okay, get it down so I can show you tomorrow morning. Now, I've told people for years, people try pushing me into the spotlight, and I kept going, that is the last place I desire to be. When I was a kid, I did end up working for a theater company, and I had the option. I could have pushed to get on stage, but I was quite content, much more so, working behind the scenes as a stagehand. Didn't get a whole lot of recognition, didn't get a whole lot of visibility, aside from the people I dealt directly with, which was great. I didn't desire the spotlight. I still don't, in all fairness. But what I do desire is for my life to shift gears. Well, it doesn't shift gears by hoping. It doesn't shift gears by thinking about it. It shifts gears by doing it. And it's been through the support and the encouragement of many of my listeners over the last 6 years at Spaced Out Radio that I finally managed to get, and I will get back to that one day. But it's because of that support and encouragement and some really lucky breaks where it came to the better side of people coming out at the right time in my life, where I didn't end up with a whole pile of complications. I never did develop a real sense of, gee, I've got to have the newest stuff. In case you can't tell by the stuff behind me, new is not exactly high on the list. This thing here, where is it? Here's one of the neat little things that I found out. Yes, this is kind of an odd setup. All those blue boxes back in the back of my video there. Okay, I'm a firm believer that recycling, as in reuse, recycle, redistribute, works really well. These funny little containers up here in Kelowna, BC, Canada, where I am, we buy packs of mushrooms at the grocery store. Well, it turns out these little blue bins work great inside those containers in the back there. Those are old CD boxes. And I don't know how long ago it was, 80s, 90s, something like that. It might have been the 2000s when the real CD boxes came out. The CD shelves. Those little blue bins are sitting inside those boxes. I found a use for them to help me get organized. And again, that's where these fine little figures come in. These little guys. Okay. I end up buying these and painting them with toothpicks. Now, that doesn't look very well painted because it's not. Okay. Yes, I'm sidetracking myself, but that's actually normal. This is one of the funny little figures that I deal. Now, understand, these are from a fantasy role-playing genre. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. Nothing wrong with that. In all fairness, it enhances in imagination quite nicely. Politely put, or simply put, it was through gaming that I personally learned how to socialize. I was a complete misfit when I was growing up, an outcast amongst outcasts. Now, this one is one that I've painted. Not good. Okay, not in my eyes. However, this one is one that was painted by the professionals. Okay, presumably in a factory by the look of it. Okay, wish I could paint that well, but wishes don't just happen. You work for them. Okay, I desired my life to change. I desired it to get more organized. Well, that is what is happening. I'm in the process of organizing it. Okay, and yes, I believe they call this the wake-up drug, also known as caffeine. And in all fairness, it really doesn't help in my case. It helps for a lot of people. But it does keep my throat dry and my throat liquefied. moist, whatever. Anyway, when you desire to progress in your life, ask yourself this. Don't people are told, and I'll get in trouble with this from some people. So take this in stride here. I was told growing up, as many of you were, in order to get your life in order, you gotta have, in order to be really successful, you have to have an idea of where you're going by the time you're 20. Well, that's a cute thought. I love it, and I do encourage it. If you can do that, that is absolutely fantastic. Okay, give yourself a high five, or a high four, or a high two, whatever you've got. The reality that I came to understand, understanding that I've been working in the metaphysical field, in the psychic realm, working with counseling people for decades. Okay. In all fairness, at this point, well, I'm about to be 58, so that means 43 years. No, that's wrong. 45 years. I've been working in this field. Now, yes, that means I started when I was 10. When I started working with people and helping them understand where their life was going, okay, I started working with a young 17-year-old. Okay, now I didn't know anything about the field at all. I was just sitting on the park bench. I'm only 10 years old. Now, I didn't have a lot in the way of coordination, so I was just watching other people do whatever. This 16, 17-year-old young blonde kid sat down beside me. Now, she's obviously got 6, 7 years on me. And I don't know if I heard her say it, or if she asked it, or what the story was, but what I heard was, I don't understand it. I've had a boyfriend for 2 years. Now he won't touch me. He won't even look at me. Why not? Well, I never even thought about it. Okay, I just looked at her and went, well, he's sleeping with your best friend. And she goes, what do you mean he's sleeping with my best friend? Now understand, at 10 years old, nobody understands what that means. At least not if you're lucky. There are a few unfortunates that do. But I looked at her and I says, well, he's crawling into bed with her. Well, how do you know she's my best friend? Technically, I don't. But she looks like this, behaves like this, you met her like this. Oh my gosh, that's my best friend. And I looked at her and I went, well, I'm probably overstepping, but you might want to redefine your definition of best. Now, from that moment, I had people coming to me looking to find out where their life was going, what was happening, what they had to look forward to. Now, that sounds really kind of hokey, especially when you think I grew up in a military base during the Vietnam War. Sounds really hokey until you realize when I went to my 30-year grad reunion, okay, the first chap I ran into looked at me and he goes, weren't you one of the counselors? I looked at him and I says, no, I was actually a student. I just did more work than both counselors combined. Because for all you young people out there, and for that matter, the older ones of you that never went down that road, counselors, kids will not talk to counselors. They just won't. Not on the whole. Okay. They may go in and sit, like I did on occasion, go in and sit and talk to counselors, but they won't tell them a thing about what's going on inside their head. And that's okay. I mean, I spent years with shrinks. I've been to 3 actually. Okay. One I spent 20 years with trying to figure out how my brain worked. That was a journey. But the reality of it is this. I used that time not to tell him what was going on, but to tell myself what was going on. So I could take the time so everybody would leave me alone so I could figure things out. It worked. Now, granted, it worked. Here I am at almost 58 years old, finally have an idea, which gets us back to that other little thing. Most of you have been told you've got to have your life in order. You've got to have a plan by the time you're 20. Well, that's cute. The reality that I discovered with over 80,000 clients under my own belt is that the average person is somewhere in their late 40s to early 50s by the time they figure out what they want to do when they grow up. Which brings us to that other point. You have no option in life. You will get older. Okay. It is up to you whether you get old. Okay. And people go, no, everybody's going to get old. Well, here's the reality. I was also told that as you get older, your eyes will fail. Now, yes, I'm wearing glasses. But here's the funny thing. Back in 2000, so it'd be 10 years ago, up until 10 years ago, if I held my glasses right there, now you notice that's not exactly very far from my face, I could not physically see my glasses. Today, I have 20/20 eyesight for close up. Now, of course, right now I'm sitting a little further back, and I don't really need to see me. Okay, as a matter of fact, quite frankly, I try and avoid it, but it doesn't work well. Okay, so let's start with the first idea. Well, it's probably not the first one. In case you hadn't noticed, I started in the middle and I work this way. But in order to be successful in life, you have to determine a few things. Okay, you have to determine what is your definition of success, not what does anybody else say. Some people will see $1 million bank account as success. Some people will see owning a great big mansion and and an extra bunch of cars, being able to travel the world as successful. Some of you may go, I really desire to be a pop star. I desire to be up on stage singing my lungs out or acting for the masses. Okay, these are all great goals. Some people, quite seriously, look at the idea of, and this is where it gets to be a little screwy, I want to be a fantastic drug dealer. The backbone behind a drug dealer, though, is the desire to run a successful business. Okay, some people go, I just want somebody to come home to. I just want to have a life where I can come home, roof over my head, food on the table, bills paid, and most importantly, somebody to come home to share life with. Whatever your definition of success. Okay, if you're happy with the way your life is, absolutely stick with it. The trick to making your life successful is twofold. One, don't worry about what you would like your life to be like. Okay, that is the biggest miscalculation I think most people make. Because you don't know until you've gotten there. You really don't know. It's always been confusing English. Until you attain that goal, you really don't know if that's what you desire. Okay, I cannot tell you the number of people that I've talked to that desired to be out in the spotlight, got out there and went, I hate this. I absolutely hate it. But what you can do is look at your life and go, what am I not content with? What am I personally not happy with? Now, I'm not happy with a lot of things in my life. And the miscalculation people make is thinking that if you're not perfectly at ease with yourself, you can't help other people. You can be the biggest wreck on the planet. Okay. Some of the people that I have learned from have been absolute shambles. But if you take a look at your life and you go, what am I not content with? What isn't sitting with me? And you eliminate that thing or that person or that type of environment from your life. When you eliminate everything you're not content with, all you're left with is what you're happy with. Now, how do we get to success? How do we get from where we are to where we desire to be? Language does play a part. And if you look back through my other videos, by the way, should have done that at the beginning. Like I said, start in the middle, workout. At the bottom of this video, you'll see a list of contact points to get a hold of me. If you're trying to track me down directly, that's the easiest way to find it. Okay. Eliminate everything you're not content with. Okay. When you get rid of everything you're not happy with, all you're left with is a life where you're happy, you're content, and you've got the things in your life that enable you to be content. Now, how do you draw success to you? Well, here's where you start. Okay. Come up with the idea of what you think success is, what you're not content with. You have to have a purpose. What change do you desire to make? Okay. Why are you trying to answer it or to change it? The 5 W's. Okay. Who, what, where, when, and why. Okay. The how is an afterthought. So that's what I'm answering today is the how. Who are you trying to change? Whose life are you trying to change? Correction. Whose life do you desire to change? Is it yours, or are you trying to change somebody else's? Because I will tell you, the only person on the planet that can change your life is you. You can get guidance from everybody. You can get a hand up from all kinds of people. You can get support from all kinds of people, but the actual changes have to come from you. Now, when do you desire to change it? Well, in my case, and I can only speak for me, in my case, the time is now. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. This is where change starts. Now, all time, when you take a look at past, present, and future, the future hasn't gotten here. Okay, take a look at your hand as the timeline. The palm of your hand is where life is. Okay, right here. This is where it's all happening. The past is what you've already been through. You cannot go through, you cannot change anything back here. The future, you're sitting here, you've got all these different options. Now, there's a lot more than 5 options you have. But, sorry, ran out of fingers. Okay. You've got all these options. Now, until you pick one, you've got all these options open. But the moment you make a decision and act on it, you can think about them all you want. Until you physically do something, it doesn't change. Once you pick a path to go down, the rest of the options are gone. They are no longer optional. You can come back and try and get on that same path and make the adjustments to get there. But the actual fact of that decision has just eliminated every other option. Okay, I like the way Yoda put it. There is no try, just do. Now, for me, the first challenge of any day is getting out of bed. And in all fairness, that's the first challenge for anybody's day. Whether you're sleeping in a bed, whether you're sleeping in a dorm, in a hostel, whether you're one of the unfortunate people, or in some people's cases, lucky, and you're waking up on the street, the first thing to do before you can do a thing is get out of bed. Okay, hopefully you do that before going to the washroom. Okay, now, how do you get to success? Well, success. Have a purpose. Okay. Then you have to come up with a plan. The purpose is change your life for the better. I'm presuming. In my case, I desire to change a lot of the aspects from my past. Now, I have come to the conclusion I cannot change how I got here. And realistically, how I got to where I am is almost irrelevant. The fact is, I'm here. I had to tell my parents years ago, if you're going to keep asking me how I got where I am, I'm not going to be able to answer it, so we'll kill the conversation now. The fact is, this is where I'm standing. Now, where do I desire to go? That's the purpose. Okay. Why do I desire to change? Because I'm not happy with my life. Okay. Where am I going to change? Well, that's the easy part. Where do you start? Right wherever you're sitting. Okay. Now, you take that into consideration. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a plan. Now, you have to have patience. Okay, it takes time to change things. Wherever you are in life, right now, okay, right this second, this is where you're standing. Okay, so it took you years to get here. No matter how old you are, it's taking you years to get here. Now, you also have to have persistence. Get a goal in mind and start working towards it. Okay, see that goal is finished. That was the other thing. I will deal with that tomorrow because I'm about to wrap this up. I'm deliberately keeping these to only half an hour. Okay, it gives me a focal point. And again, this a lot of this is, especially since my stroke, it's easier to do a video update for myself than it is to write it. Okay, I used to write journals out by hand. Nothing wrong with it. It helped me get my head on straight. And rest assured, there's an old thing that goes really nicely, goes, all that I do, thou shalt do, and more. Meaning, if I can do it, so can you. Okay, but you have to be content with you. This is not about me telling you you have to change your life. If you're content with your life, if you believe where you're standing, that's fantastic. Okay, but the reality of it is, I've come to the understanding I can't go back, but I can certainly get rid of the negative stuff that I'm still focusing on and start focusing on where I desire to go from here. Okay, now, where there are some videos that I do recommend you look at that I've done in the past, where they were titled Language. They are about some of the words that are some of the verbal words, regardless of your language, of where things go. Of why words work the way they do in any language. I encourage you to look them up. Now, for the time being, like I said, I'm keeping these to a half-hour run. That said, until we meet again, I'm going to let you go. But until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.